but I want to ask you about the Kevin Owens match at WrestleMania 33 because who would have thought that the chain of events of that match would play out the way they have? When did you find out that it was going to go from the main event to where it was, and how close to the show was it that happened?
So the Kevin Owens, once again, we were in, actually, I believe, in England. I believe we were at the O2, and it was just one of those times, if you guys ever watch Raw, where they just put two bad guys together randomly. Like, oh, just put Owens and Jericho and against whoever and whoever, and it's like, okay, well, I remember I didn't know him at all, but just talking to him, it's like, he's pretty funny. He kind of reminds me of me. He's kind of a fun sense of humor and, self-deprecating and kind of goofy and all that sort of stuff. So we do this match and we lose, and afterwards we're walking up the ramp off air, and I just yell out randomly, "I'm the GOAT!" And Kevin goes, "And I'm the donkey!" With that kind of French accent that's not strong, but it's there. And I was like, it's pretty good. Like, he just came up with that on the fly. And then I started thinking, like, I could do something with this guy. So I suggested to Vince, why don't you put us in kind of a team and see what happens? And it caught on right away. We even pitched at WWE Films, like a good, like two cops, like, a good cop and a bad cop sort of thing, like a Lethal Weapon, but as a comedy, where we would just improv. And Vince said, well, give us 5 minutes of improv. And we did this 5-minute improv of the two of us as cops. And this, we're chasing some guy who, whatever the hell he did, ran a stop sign or whatever. And I remember we watched it back, and it was really funny. It was like Spinal Tap, Best in Show, like improv comedy. And we showed it to Vince. He's like, yeah, this is great. Well, I'll give it to whoever the guy's name was, Mike Schwartz or whatever his name was. And of course, then I called the guys like, well, we're trying to do more outside projects rather than in-house projects. I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like, this would be great. This would be such a funny movie. Anyways, I think we're going to call it Bad Cop, Bad Cop. I mean, it writes itself, right? You guys would go with it. So we did all this stuff, and then we got to about SummerSlam, and I said to Vince, I think we can take this to WrestleMania. There's enough here. Roman Reigns was just getting hot, and Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn, and we could work with all these guys as this team. We were the best friends before the best friends were in AEW. We were the best friends, and that's kind of where the whole thing started. And people kept thinking, okay, you're going to break up now, and we wouldn't. Okay, you're going to break up now, and we wouldn't. And the one time I was like, you know what the problem is here? And he goes, yeah, I know what the problem is here. You know what the problem is here? You know what the problem is here? And I said, put your microphone down and don't move your hands until I put my microphone up. That was the plan. You know what the problem is here? Yeah. You know what the problem is here? Roman Reigns. We say it at the same time. And so that was kind of the thing. And we were kind of going against these guys. And then finally, we get to the Festival of Friendship and we do the big breakup. And it was around that time, probably a couple weeks after that Vince said the main event at WrestleMania this year is going to be Jericho versus Kevin Owens for the WWE title. And because Kevin was the champion, if you remember. And I was like, this is pretty cool because I've never won the title as a babyface. I've never won the world title as a babyface ever. 7-time world champion, always as a heel. So I guess I'm just not likable. But I thought, well, this could be really cool. A main event, or a main event, whichever. Might not have been on last, but it's a main event anyways, as we discussed earlier. And I just thought, this is great. And then about a week later, Goldberg beat Kevin for the title. And they changed it. Vince didn't tell me. Vince told me face-to-face about the main event plan. He didn't tell me about the change, and that was changing it to Brock versus Goldberg for the world title. So, I mean, I'm a big boy. I get it. I'm a professional. He changed his mind. It happens. It's not an insult to me or anything personal. But what really bugged me about that was we went from the main event of WrestleMania to putting us on second. Now, if you know anything about placement on a wrestling show, if you're not last, you want to be first. If you're not first or last, you want to be semi-main event. And other than that, it's pretty much a quagmire. Unless you can get a good spot like Sean and I did, which was 5th, but we had 25 minutes, which went 29 minutes, as I told you. This did not have that. It was scheduled for, 15 minutes. And don't forget, guys, it takes a minute and a half to walk to the ring. And it was just kind of just a match that was just there. And it really bothered me because that story was one of the best, if not the best story of that whole WrestleMania season. I still think the Festival of Friendship is one of the best segments in Raw history, you know? Everyone said we saw that turn coming. Like, you didn't see anything coming, you know? I wanted it to start like an 80s David Lee Roth video and have it end like the Game of Thrones Red Wedding. We were just like, no, don't do it. Oh, he did it. So that all kind of led to when we were on second, I was already kind of like, I don't know if I could really want to be here anymore. And then we get the review from Vince for our match. Have I ever told you this before? Oh, I never told you this before. Have I ever told you guys this before? No, I haven't. Vince said to Kevin Owens, that was the worst match in WrestleMania history. That's what he said. And he just did not like that match. And I was like, really? Did you not see Giant Gonzalez versus Undertaker? Really? He was really on Kevin's case for being kind of like, said, you're fat, you're out of shape, and you do too many moves, and you're just not a good heel. He was really, really on Kevin at that point in time. And our match was just collateral damage, I think, to where I was like, the worst segment of all time. Once again, I think the match we had the next month was much better for the U.S. title. But where it was supposed to be similar to the match way back, as we were talking earlier, that was supposed to be the 4 McMahons in every corner, and I was supposed to be one of the guys. Going to the 3-way, and then this one was supposed to be main event, going to the second match of the card. Even though the story was the best story on the show, I knew it was time for me to leave. I sit down next to Sean. He sit down next to me. He goes, you got any ideas? I said, yeah, I actually have pretty much the whole finish. He goes, really? I said, yeah. I said, do you have any ideas? He said, I pretty much have the whole beginning. I said, what? He goes, yeah, whatever I was doing, I just got hit with all these ideas and had to write them down. I was like, this is what happened to me.